After weeks of faffing around and rearranging the entire Lego city, we are finally at a point today where, if all goes to plan, we should have something resembling a city layout again. We've completely changed the layout of the wood. We've gone from our big U shape with a separate island to this massive open area with our raised platform at the back. We've got our new train lines in. Now we just need to get the modulars arranged, get some roads back in, and then work out how much extra space we're going to have left over for things like a theme park, a town square, a beach, a rotating area for things like a Halloween display, a winter village, that kind of thing. So that's the plan. We've got a lot of modulars all over the place at the moment, but I need to figure out where I put my road plates and get this so that it looks like a proper layout. We need proper organization, proper structure, and I would like to be able to get some of the vehicles back in, some of the minifigures back in, and also ideally clear off what is supposed to be my new build area at this end of the room, because I've got the loop coaster sat there in my house ready to bring and build here and get into this layout, but I've got nowhere to build it at the moment, so I need to create space. So I think we're gonna, the back raised area is pretty much how it's going to be for now. Obviously, these couple that were put here temporarily while I was doing the trains can move down, but we've pretty much got a layout of buildings and road at the back there. Obviously, it needs plenty of detailing. We've got a road that starts halfway through a curb there. We've got loads of curbs missing. We haven't decided which side of the road the tram line is going to be. We haven't got a way to loop the tram line off yet, but they're all details we can worry about. And it's not necessarily a final layout for the back here. I do like the idea of having my taller buildings at the back. So Daily Bugle, Avengers Tower, Sit Complex, which is going to end up twice the height it is now. They're all likely to stay. Town Hall's likely to stay. There is a part of me that thinks maybe Haunted House should be back there. And maybe also that should be where the loop coaster ends up going as well, on that raised platform, and almost make it kind of half and half theme parky at one end, which could then flow down into the rest of the city a little bit, and Marvel and superhero-y at the other end, maybe get Arkham Asylum involved in the superhero section as well, and then kind of flow down into the city from there. But one of the great things about the new layout is how easy it's going to be to swap and change stuff around. So they're the kind of decisions I don't need to make today. For now, we just need to sort out this area within the smaller loop. I would like to get to the point where we don't have any exposed wood within the smaller loop, and it's all base plates, roads, and buildings, and all in a logical layout. So we don't have any sections like this where we've just kind of got, we've got work to do. So I think job one, clear out the bit that's inside the smaller loop, and then start putting stuff back in a little bit more intentionally. And I need to find my road plates as well. I'm starting to spot a pattern with these Lego City Update videos where the first time lapse is me making a massive mess, and then all of the subsequent time lapses are me slowly but surely tidying up the mess. And this one is no different. This is me making a massive mess, spreading stuff out across the room so I can fix it. Right, we've got our first street locked in. And by locked in, I literally mean the road is attached to the train track. We're not necessarily married to having these buildings here. I've left enough gap so that we can fit retaining wall all the way along the back as well. Not that we'll necessarily need it for a lot of this area, because for a lot of it, you won't be able to see anyway, but eventually it will be obviously a nice detail to have in, and we'll have tunnels on the corner there, and we are planning on detailing everything eventually. So it would be silly to decide on the exact placement of this road without measuring that gap. But that road is now attached to the train track on both sides, which means we're working with a width for modulars of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is that right? 1, 2. Well, that's a half. 1.5, 2.5, and then we've got another 1.5. So that's 3, 4, 5. We're six modulars wide, I think. So now we've got to fill in the rest of this area with the rest of our buildings. And I think my plan is we're making this so that from this angle, we can see the best angle of each of the buildings. So obviously the ones at the back are facing us this way. I think we probably are going to have the ones nearest the train track over there. Their backs are going to be to that train track, because we're not really building the city for it to be viewed from all angles. The reason it's not against the wall is so that I can access it from all angles, but really it's primarily going to be viewed from this side. So when we are over here, obviously we are going to have back views of buildings, which for some of them is going to be great because the back view of Brick Cross Station is an actual train platform. So I guess if we've got others that have a good rear view, then it might make sense to put those here. So we have something a little bit more visible. What's that? The police station. The police station looks like it's got a back that could potentially go in there, but we probably want another corner on here as well. So we might just put the corner garage there to kind of keep it out of the way, because it's one of my least favourite. I'm not a massive fan of the corner garage. So we might just keep that back in the corner out of the way. But what we don't want is something like the downtown diner, for example, which just looks rubbish from the back. I also would like, and I don't know if we'll be able to do it in this first version of the layout, I would like to make use of the alleyway that we have in the detective's office, to have that as an alleyway that leads through to Diagon Alley in some way. I'm thinking perhaps having Diagon Alley running down the middle of the city, eventually with Gringotts at one end once we get that, but kind of hidden, but also kind of visible if you look at it from above and you know that it's there. And you can only really access it from the detective's office, but that might be a little too complicated for a first go. But yeah, I think the idea is we have this row of modulars that are kind of backed up to the train line like that, with a road in front of them, and then continue building back from there. Mainly with trying to fit it around. I don't know why there's a bone stuck in there. Oh, it's now fully in there. But we kind of want to accommodate this train station, which is the main reason for why this side of the city is the way it is. And obviously eventually we'll have bridges and another platform and stuff over here and all sorts. But for now, let's just make Brick Cross Station nicely integrated and fit everything else around that on this end.
And there's going to be moments during this next time lapse where it looks like I'm standing around not really doing anything. I assure you, I'm standing around and pondering, because there you go, there was some example of some pondering for you, because I am trying to make it so that it looks good from as many angles as possible. I know I've said we primarily want it to look good from the door to the room, but I don't want it to look rubbish from this angle. I don't want it to look rubbish from the back. So if we can find a way so wherever you're viewing it from, it still looks pretty good, but there is still the one main viewing angle, that's what I'm kind of aiming for. I don't know that we completely get there on this layout, but I think we got a lot closer than I expected to.
Right, we are getting somewhere. This is starting to look pretty cool. So we have something that looks suspiciously like a city block. We're going to fix the front of it in a little while. But you can see we've got buildings going all the way around the outside. We have got the little alleyway in the detective's office, which leads through to Diagon Alley. Obviously, I need to put a little cobblestoney road in between the two sides of that, and then maybe eventually we have Gringotts at one end, which would involve some further shuffling around. It does mean we've got a little bit of wasted space in there at the moment, which we could potentially deal with by taking out the police station, sticking in a half-width modular and shoving this whole lot back a little bit, but then we just end up with the wasted space on the front. So we may as well leave it in there for now, and it does give me the flexibility at some point to shove Diagon Alley over maybe quarter of a base plate and put a back on that side and a back on that side. At the moment, I've tried to hide the open backs with quite tall buildings. Like we've got the Natural History Museum in front of it, which from most angles blocks most of it, and we're never really going to see it from this angle where you can see that it's open. But yeah, if we were to shove that along a little bit and basically take up that space by adding in backs to the two rows there, I think that probably solves that problem. But yeah, we've got the road in all the way around, largely fixed in place. We need to sort out how we're going to get the corners pinned down. I'm going to swap these half base plates for full base plates. In actual fact, I have just measured it, and a full base plate does fit there perfectly in the gap that we've got and line up perfectly with the edge of that. So I can just swap those out, and we'll end up with a straight line down here to begin this bit. We've got a few buildings that haven't made it in to this version. The Lego store, not Sesame Street, the Miles Morales thing that I think we're going to be doing some changes to anyway, because we've now got the Peter Parker apartment, the Oscorp buildings. So there's a few other things we can add into that. So that's probably going to be disassembled and turned into something else anyway. That can be turned into a half base plate if I decide I want to fit a half base plate version. I've never been really happy with that Lego store. So that might get changed as well. And then we've just got little bits that were probably for other areas of the city anyway, like the haunted house, the botanical garden, the modern house, the modern beach house, the X mansion, Lion Knight's castle, Krusty Burger. These were all things that were always going to be this side of the track anyway. One thing I do want to fit into that end of the city, which I won't be able to plan properly until we get it in a couple of days, is the Arkham Asylum. I'm filming this video on Sunday. I imagine you're probably seeing it after you've seen me buy Arkham Asylum. So I am just about ready to add it in. One spot it could potentially go that I've left blank at the moment is here, but I quite like the idea of this, having this area extended and having that as like a little open area where we have a couple of our food trucks and maybe a tram stop. Not that we've got a tram there, or a bus stop or something. So I don't know if that's going to be the spot for it. It might end up going just into this corner or something. And we're probably going to have another row of buildings here, this side of the track, just so that we've got something at the back of the town square, which is going to be here. And then we'll have our seaside area, Castle Hill, which we need to build and then get the castle on top of. And yeah, I quite like that. And I think, contrary to what I said earlier in the video, it actually looks good from all angles, the way we've actually managed to do it in the end. So you look at it from this side, and we've got two buildings that look good from the back here. You don't look at them and immediately think that's just a boring back of a building. We've got a little Sesame Street scene in the back garden of Sesame Street. We've got a train platform on the back of the train station. The Sherlock mock has Sherlock stuff on both sides. So all along here, it's like, yeah, that's fine. Obviously, we see those buildings fine. From over the top, we can see down into Diagon Alley. Yeah, the back of those buildings is a little bit ropey. But once we've made some adjustments to Diagon Alley to maybe fill that gap, you won't see that so much. From down this front of the street, whichever side you're looking at, you see shop fronts. I'm already coming up with plans to stick a 360 camera in the middle of the street and do some proper street level POV views. Obviously, we need to sort out all the detailing on all the curbs all the way around. And then when we come round here, it's the same story from this side. So from the front here, you see the front of all of the buildings. We can see both sides of Tudor Corner, which is important because Tudor Corner is one of the best looking buildings they've done. I wanted to be able to show that off from both angles, and I think that position for it is perfect for that. Again, you can see over the top into Diagon Alley. The back there is not ideal, but like I say, if it ever goes into a discount, Gringotts goes there. Otherwise, we come up with another plan for something to put at the other end there. Maybe something else that can have a little alleyway or a gap between two buildings or something. Even like the back garden to that cozy house would probably look better there, although it would be a little bit of a weird thing to be hanging off the back of Diagon Alley. We've got some back on the metro station as well, so maybe the metro station could go there. And we have the little travel agents, I think that is, off the back of the metro station. So we might swap those two around because that's actually quite a nice back as backs go. But then you can see both angles of the boutique hotel, both angles of the Block Party HQ, and obviously the stuff on the back level is all looking good as is. We also need to find a space for the lighthouse and Ninjago as well. But I am pretty happy with how that's looking. I think just to finish off today, I'm going to swap out those base plates just so we have that solid line across there and at least get this whole end of the room, apart from that bit in the middle, covered in base plate. And then next time we're here, we can start working on this end. I think my plan for Castle Hill, which is going to be one of the next things to do, is I bought a load of the little, they're this size, 16 by 16. They're like the plates that you do the art sets on, the little black 16 by 16, almost Mills plate thickness things. I bought them over a year ago to build a pier in the original Lego City. And I think we can probably use them to do a little raised platform here out of Lego rather than getting wood involved again, which allows us to have a tunnel going through. We can finally use all of our big ugly rock pieces that we bought ages ago, and they're somewhere in here. I don't even know where they are. We've got a lot of them. We've got loads of them. We've got like 2 drawers of them to do the side of Castle Hill with, which can be there because then that's going to be like a permanent feature. Get a town square in because pretty soon we're going to have to set up our Halloween scene on the town square. We are getting close to that now. And then I guess work out where we're going to put the loop coaster, where we're going to put the haunted house. Haunted house, obviously, initially will go into the Halloween scene, but does it have a permanent spot in the city throughout the rest of the year? Or does it maybe be put away? I mean, it's a big one to put away for 10 months of the year. Plus, it's too cool to put away for 10 months of the year. So we probably do find a spot for it. It might live where the Ninjago one is when it's not in a Halloween display or a theme park display. These smaller roller coasters, I don't think are making it in. Bless them. I think the Ferris wheel will. I think the Lilo and Stitch house will. I think that'll end up on the beach with the beach house we've got there. I think Botanical Gardens will probably go just the other side of the train tracks there and be part of like the edge of the town square, like opposite where we've got the Natural History Museum. We might have Botanical Garden. But yeah, I think it is all taking shape very, very nicely. So let me just swap those base plates over and then we can have a final look at it in its current form. And then, of course, as ever, your feedback in the comments, very, very welcome, because obviously the feedback we've had so far has led to so many changes in the city to this point that you've got to keep it coming because it's super helpful.
And I did end up getting a little bit carried away here because in addition to swapping out the base plates, I decided to just completely clear this end off and just get as many of the sets that we've got in position or in a position as I possibly could so that we could start to get a real feel for how this end could look once we start getting the base plates in. And I think it's looking good.
Here we go. Look, we've got an example of how things could end up being. So firstly, I did sort out getting that straight line in there. It is a little bit of wasted space with it being full base plates just for a train track, but bear in mind we're going to need some kind of pedestrian area out the front of those buildings, and then we'll probably put some kind of fence, some greenery. There'll be some kind of separation. It's not just going to be a 1 base plate wide gap because that's bonkers. I may as well do the embedded road plates if I'm going to do that and get a few more vehicles in. The vehicles that were lying around, I've kind of scattered around the city a little bit. And then I've just got the rest of the buildings in for now. We did have a bit of an accident with one of the roller coasters, so that one's going to need a rebuild before doing anything with it. And to be honest, that one's the Creator 3-in-1 one, which is probably going to be one of your alt builds anyway, not a roller coaster. That roller coaster might come back in, but for now we've got a little Legoland in, which realistically, again, probably isn't going to make it in because it's all very small scale. It'll be fine occasionally on the town square, which will probably be more middle, but it'll be fine on the town square every now and again. When there's nothing seasonal going on, we might pull that out because they are some fun sets. Lion Knight's Castle will be up above the train track, but we've got it there for now. This will be like our sea beach area, so this is going to have to be some kind of rail bridge that we put in to go over the sea. And then I want a little residential / woodland camping area. I've got the tree house at home. I've got the Italian Riviera at home, which could kind of blur the lines between residential and beachy. So they both need to come in. I've got a few more castles, which once we've got a Castle Hill in, we might bring in something like one of the Bricklink castles or something like the medieval town square just to add a little bit more castle-y stuff, or we might just make do with the Lion Knight's castle and keep the rest of the castle stuff in the Lego room at home. But I think that's probably the best this Lego City has ever looked. And obviously this area, we've not even properly made a start on. We've just dumped some stuff on some wood at the moment. But I do have some beach already built, which can slot in. And yeah, I think we are slowly but surely getting there. Next time I'm here, we'll either be covering this in base plates so there's no more exposed wood, or making a start on all of the detail work, getting proper curbs in, getting the train line properly connected, you know, getting pedestrian areas in and just doing fiddly detail stuff, because we need to do that before we can start bringing in loads of vehicles and minifigures. And obviously it's the vehicles and minifigures that bring the city to life. Now I've got my building area is a little bit clearer. I need to fix that. I need to fix the downtown tram as well. But then once they're both fixed, the plan is to use this area in the relatively near future to build the loop coaster. Not that I have any idea where the loop coaster is going to go. In my original design, the loop coaster was basically going to be where Diagon Alley is, and it was going to be kind of sticking up from in the middle of a block of buildings. But looking at the gap that's there now, I don't think it would fit. So we might put the loop coaster at the back and bring some of those buildings down and almost have like the Avengers stuff and roller coaster stuff, because I still want the other roller coaster as well, the other big creator roller coaster, because I love roller coasters. So we could potentially end up with both of them at the back. We'll figure something out. We don't need to make decisions on that right now. But yeah, I think it is looking really, really cool. And if you've enjoyed this process of turning what we had before into what we now see behind me now, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for loads more Lego content. Like I say, keep the feedback coming in. Suggestions are always welcome. I don't always take all of them on board, but I do read them all. And if they're good suggestions, often you will see them reflecting in the city at some point. But thank you very much for watching.